National College Football Roundup. I picked 3 games, really like 3 games. Ted, first one, number 25, Kansas State. Look at the Wildcats slipping in.
No.
Number 25, Kansas State at Oklahoma State. 2 teams coming off nice wins and 2 offenses that by all indications are going to want to run the football and then run it some more. And I think we're going to see a whole lot of Jaylen Warren for the Cowboys in this football game and a whole lot of Deuce Vaughn for the Wildcats. And Joe Irvin, this little scat back guy they got now, he got some wiggle to him as well. And they're going to use Will Howard, big dude. They're going to use him in the running game as well. So I think this is going to be a low-scoring affair. But talk to Mike Gundy this week, and they're hoping they get some of those receivers back that missed the Boise State game. So maybe we see Spencer Sanders throw it around a little more. Now, I still don't trust Spencer Sanders. I don't trust him, but I trust Will Howard throwing the football even less. So it is unfortunate that they announced this week Trey Sterling, that's safety for Oklahoma State, going to be out for the season. That's a big blow for them. But I still, out of every unit in this game, I still trust Oklahoma State's defense the most. I think it's going to be the difference in the game. I think it may actually be a good atmosphere in Stillwater. Gundy talked about, hey, maybe we should reduce beer prices. Of course, in true Gundy fashion, it was great, but it's a weird matchup. But I like Oklahoma State at home in this one.
Yeah, it's hard to have a real feel for this. If Skylar Thompson's playing for Kansas State, I don't think it may be a close game score-wise, but it wouldn't be a tough decision for me to take Kansas State. He makes that much of a difference for him. I like the running game, man. Deuce Vaughn is doing some really good things for him.
O-line is playing well.
Yeah,
I think there's not no line in the Big 12 playing better than Kansas State's right now.
Yeah, and, one of the things is, since they know they've got to limit passing, and they've got to be more expansive in the run game, they're going to add a lot of stuff, and they're going to add a lot of different looks, and they're going to throw different personnel at you and different formations at you. And that's going to be tough, especially if you're losing a safety to try and adjust to some of the things that they're going to do. We've seen that ourselves playing them. I just can't trust Oklahoma State right now. Maybe I'm being too hard on them. I just feel like Kansas State is too smart of a team, detail-oriented, win special teams, play good, solid defense. Don't kill yourself with turnovers on offense, and you'll have a chance in the end. That's going to be the key. Will Howard, if they do fall behind, or if it, does get put on his arm at some point, can he be efficient with the football and not turn it over? What was he, like 7 of 10 against Nevada, something like that? Only threw the ball 10 times. So I think that's going to really tell the story.
Yeah, I think Howard threw it 10 times against Nevada, and Sanders threw it 13 times against Boise.
We may have ourselves like a 2-hour and 15-minute football game.
And if you haven't seen Kansas State this year and like you're a football person, prepare yourselves. They now play a 3-man front on defense. They have been a predominantly 4-man front my entire lifetime. When I was a kid watching games, when I was playing, when I've been covering them, since I've been done playing, they run pretty much exclusively a 3-man front, and it's been pretty effective for them. And I don't like it one bit, Ted. It creeps me out. It's so weird. It's like there's supposed to be 4 guys in purple on the line. That's how it works in Manhattan, and now they only have 3. It confuses me.
It was our one link to the past, and it's gone now. Nobody.
Gone forever.
Dang it. Brutal.
All right, next game. Number 12, Notre Dame at, and I'm doing air quotes, they're at number 18, Wisconsin. That game is at Soldier Field. So a fun fact, I expect now, Wisconsin's got a great fan base. They'll travel well. I expect this to be a pro Notre Dame crowd because, fun fact, when you go on an official visit to Notre Dame, they fly you into Chicago and pick you up in a limo. Pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, it felt
Yeah.
pretty cool.
It's not bad. What's it like?
Not
45 minutes or
far.
so?
Yeah,
Well,
it's
it
not far
depends
at
on
all.
traffic. God,
Yeah.
whenever you guys played up there, we stayed in Chicago
Yeah.
and drove down
So
day of the game.
it'll be interesting to see how the makeup of the crowd is, but I would assume it's going to be pro Notre Dame. I could be wrong, but although Notre Dame is 3-0, they haven't impressed anyone with their wins over Florida State, Toledo, and Purdue. I guess if you're going to say, oh, they look decent against Purdue, remember when they beat Florida State on the road, that's when people thought Florida State might be good or getting better. And oh my gosh, it has gone poorly since then for the Noles. So with Notre Dame, you've got Kyron Williams still, who's a hell of a player at running back. That running game just hasn't looked like we're used to seeing it. And the offensive line play just hasn't clicked for them yet. And it's weird because they've been producing so many great linemen, but only averaging 105 yards rushing a game, and that's against below average competition. So a little alarming there for the Irish. Meanwhile, you've got Wisconsin's defense. I mean, they're legit. Now, I know they haven't played a lot of games, but they did their part in that opener against Penn State. I mean, they look great. And that loss all of a sudden is looking better with Penn State knocking off Auburn.
Yep.
So you look at Wisconsin's defense giving up 33 yards rushing a game.
Whew.
I did not misspeak.
Wow.
33 rushing yards per game against the Wisconsin defense. Jack Cohn clearly going to be extra motivated to get a win against his former team. But while I do trust Cohn more than I trust Graham Mertz, I just see Wisconsin winning this game kind of with the simplest formula in football, and that is run the ball and stop the run. They're going to continue to hand it to Ches Malusi. I still don't know how to say that guy's name. I've heard it said 10 different ways, but it seems like Wisconsin, I trust them more on the offensive line and defensive line right now, more than Notre Dame.
I'm in a weird spot with this game. I like Wisconsin. I like Notre Dame. I'm with the way things have gone so far this year, I'm kind of hoping Cincy makes a run and really fights for that playoff spot for a group of 5 team. And they kind of need Notre Dame to win this game. Like, that would go a long way. If Notre Dame beat Wisconsin and was a top 10 team, whether 12 right now, if they were able to be top 10 and Cincinnati, because I think Cincinnati would beat them, that would be really good. And they'd have a really good shot at making it from that point on. But it's hard to argue against 33 yards a game in the rushing. And Notre Dame, if they can't get the run going, I like Jack Cohn. I think he's a good, solid player, but I'm sorry. He's going to need some good down and distances to have success against a defense like that. And if you can't run the ball, it's going to be a tough day. Probably leaning Wisconsin in this one.
Yeah, and the weird thing about it is Notre Dame's a more talented team, right? We're seeing all the guys they're putting in the NFL. So I was interested. So I went and looked at the 24/7 Sports composite. They do the talent composite every year, and Notre Dame, according to the recruiting rankings, right, is the 12th most talented team in college football. Wisconsin is the 21st most talented team in college football. But Wisconsin has 16 4-stars. Notre Dame's got 44.
Wow.
So it's like, from a talent perspective, Notre Dame should win the game. But just with what we've seen this year, I just think Wisconsin's playing better football and kind of know who they are as a team right now. Whereas Notre Dame, it seems like they're trying to figure some stuff out, man.
Yeah, Wisconsin hasn't really ever gone through much of an identity crisis. They've kind of,
Should we switch to the air raid? No one's ever said that at Wisconsin.
They've kind of known what they're going to be. Notre Dame has played around with some things offensively, but I don't know. This is like an all-time line of scrimmage game. Hopefully Notre Dame's offensive line gets back up to par with where they've been, but this should be a fun one. But yeah, I'm going to roll with Ches and Wisconsin.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that game being at Soldier Field.
I think it's the dumbest thing ever.
Okay.
I
hate it.
Neutral site college football games.
I'll say this. I hate neutral site college football games that are at NFL stadiums.
Well, I hate neutral site college football games that haven't always been a neutral site game. Like, we've got the Cotton Bowl. Everyone knows that. Florida, Georgia is a neutral site, right? They've always done that.
Okay, so follow me on this. Because I was talking to somebody about this earlier today. They were like, well, why don't you like them at NFL stadiums and you like OU Texas? And the answer is easy. It's the atmosphere, man. OU Texas, the atmosphere is nuts. It's in the middle of a state fair. You're walking around. There's thousands and thousands of people. There's OU fans. There's Texas fans. Then there's the weirdos that showed up to the fair that day, somehow not knowing that football game is happening. And it's just chaos. And there's so much to look at. There's the sounds, the smells, everything. Like, the best part about college football.
And they've done it for 100 years.
Yes. And the tradition of it. But when it's at an NFL stadium, you're just sitting in a big parking lot. That's what you're doing. You're sitting in a giant concrete parking lot.
Sterile environment. Like
that. The best thing.
Commercialized.
Yeah. The best thing about college football games is the energy on campus. I firmly believe the best thing is just that buzz a college football campus has when it's game day. Like the build up to the game, the tailgating, like the scenes. You got people walking around going, oh yeah, this is where I want to go to school. Then you've got all the old people, guys telling stories like, oh yeah, that's back in the day. That's where I met your mom. Like there's these memories that people are reliving. There's these memories that people are hoping to create. There's tailgating. There's everything going on around this one event.
Well, yeah. And everyone's got, like, Tennessee does their pregame thing, and Virginia Tech and Clemson, and everyone's got their
walk.
Yeah.
When you're playing in an NFL stadium.
Yeah. The buses pull up under the stadium. The whole thing sucks. It's commercialized. It's stripped of any atmosphere and intensity, and yeah, I hate it. I think neutral. If I could kill one thing in college football, well, it's hard to do just one, but neutral sites would definitely be one of those.
That all being said, Joe Castiglione, if you're listening and you would like to schedule a neutral site at that Raiders stadium in Vegas, I don't think Teddy and I are going to complain.
Now, here's the thing. If we're playing, like, I don't know, does UNLV even count as a neutral site?
No, we're not playing them there. Even though Iowa State just did it, we ain't doing that. It's got to be like Oregon or USC or one of those. Like, let's play a big boy there if we're going to do it.
Yeah, play a big, like, USC. Fine. Or even UCLA. I've seen the Rose Bowl whenever UCLA is there. It sucks. Okay, let's play them in Vegas. Okay, I got
That'd be awesome.
No problems with that. Stanford. We'll play Stanford in.
Okay, let's not be
Vegas.
Ridiculous.
When they're good, if they're ever good again.
I'm finding all the math nerds from Stanford, and I'm saying, hey, I'm coming to the casinos with you boys. Tell me what to do.
I would like to see. I've never been to Washington, never been to Oregon, so I'd actually like to see those places.
Yeah, no, I'm out. I am all in on games on campus. All in. So let's talk about another game that's at a neutral site NFL stadium. Number 7, Texas A&M taking on number 16, Arkansas. Look at Arkansas up to number 16. 2-3-0 teams. And Ted, this game has defensive battle written all over it. Zach Calzada has taken over at quarterback for the Aggies for the injured Haynes King, and he has been okay. Have to imagine that A&M is going to lean on that running game. We saw what the Arkansas running game can do. We saw that against Texas with Traylon Smith. But however, you've got KJ Jefferson, the big QB who can add to the run game. He's got that mobility. He adds the QB run element to things, but they do have a problem. They have a few O linemen out, it sounds like. So that line that bludgeoned Texas's defensive line is not going to be intact for this football game, it sounds like. So that sets some alarm bells off for me. So if they don't have a couple of those guys play, that defensive front from A&M is still legit, man. The Marvin Leal, Jaden Peavy, like those guys are big physical pros. I just think that A&M, they got more weapons offensively with Isaiah Spiller, Anais Smith, and the Watermeyer kid at tight end. I just think that those guys are going to make a few more plays than Arkansas's guys. I think A&M, just a more talented team. And while I love what's going on at Arkansas with Sam Pittman, I love the toughness. I love the yes, sir thing he's got going. That's awesome. But I don't think they can get this one done.
Really?
Yeah.
I
listen, I wanted to pick them, but I heard Pittman talking about it on Pardon My Take. They interviewed him, and it did not sound like a couple of his O-linemen were going to play. And I was like, I know what Texas A&M's got along the defensive line. You got backups playing against those dudes. Not a good situation.
That's not a good situation. But
KJ Jefferson's going to win the game with his arm?
I don't think he's going to have to. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game.
Agreed.
A&M offensively really struggling. I think Arkansas's defense is going to play them really tough. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot to go on, especially with Arkansas's offensive line being out. I just feel like it's kind of their time. I feel like A&M is a little overrated. I think this Arkansas team is kind of angry. They've been beaten up for a long time in this conference, man. They have. And they finally got a good, solid football team. And I feel like they're taking it out on some people. I don't have a lot of solid backing to it, but I just like Arkansas. Maybe it's some disdain for A&M a little bit. I do think that they're the most overrated.
You don't like A&M? What?
I guess I don't have much of a problem with them, but I think they're way overrated. Vastly overrated right now. At what, number 7? Give me a break. No way. Although I will say, it does feel like there's a lot of teams starting off a little slow this year, but A&M, no quarterback. At number 7, sorry.
You hear that, Calzada? Teddy doesn't believe in you. I do, I guess. All right, let's